The Fishing Industry at Filey by G.W. Waller. Filey has been connected with the fishing industry for centuries. In fact, in 1192, the fishermen of that time were at variance with the Abbot of Bridlington with reference to paying tithes of fish. But great changes have taken place since those far-off days, and there are not so many vessels or fishermen as there were nearly 100 years ago. In 1866 there were 34 yawls, 17 herring cobbles and 64 inshore cobbles, all of which were sailing vessels and manned by Filey crews. But the coming of steam affected them, for in 1896 the number had dropped to 24 yawls, 12 herring cobbles and 32 inshore cobbles. Today there are no yawls or herring cobbles, and the number of inshore cobbles engaged in winter fishing from Filey has dropped to 10. There are now 4 keel boats fishing out of Scarborough which are manned by Filey men. The old yawls carried a crew of 6, skipper, mate, 2 sharemen, 1 big lad and 1 little lad. The herring cobbles had a crew of 4, skipper, mate and 2 sharemen. The winter fishing cobbles carried a crew of 3, the same as today, so that in 1866 there were 272 men and lads in the yawls and herring cobbles, and assuming that 40 of the inshore cobbles were engaged in the winter fishing, that would mean that there were 392 Filey men in the fishing industry. In 1896 the total would be 192 in yawls and herring cobbles, and again assuming 20 of the inshore cobbles in winter fishing would mean another 60 men, making a total of 252. The keelboat today carry a crew of 6 and the winter fishing cobbles a crew of 3, making a total of 54 men. Speaking at the annual parish tea in 1897, the late Canon A.N. Cooper said that the men in the fishing industry were lucky if they averaged £1 a week, and went on to say, surely the inference would be that Filey itself had gone down, for a declining industry must mean a declining population. Not in the least. The place had doubled itself, or nearly so, in mere numbers, while the outward signs of prosperity are everywhere apparent. The fact is the whole place has changed. From being a fishing village which left few lodgings to visitors, it has become a fashionable watering place in which there are few fishermen. What were they like, the smacks, yawls and herring cobbles in which the Filey fishermen went to sea? First, they were all sailing boats. The smacks were approximately 60 to 70 feet in length and had a beam of 15 feet. They had 2 pole masts, but on the foremast they had a cross tree and a short topmast. Their weight was from 70 to 90 tons, although some of the later ones at the close of the last century were up to 100 tons. Their draught was from 6 to 8 feet. The rig of these smacks was a mainsail, mizzen topsails and 2 forejibs. They had extra sails for very fine weather, such as spinnaker and balloon jib. Most of the smacks which sail out of Scarborough and Filey crews came from Yarmouth and Lowestoft. The yawls were very similar in their rig, but were much smaller boats. They had 2 pole masts, but no cross tree or short topmast on the foremast. They were from 40 to 60 feet in length and had 12 or 14 foot beam. But the Yawl Brothers, built in 1840, was only 35 tons. The herring cobble was only half decked. They had a cabin or cuddy forward, whereas the smack and yawl were fully decked and had cabins aft. They were a smaller boat than the smack and yawl, although the last of them to be built was 42 feet in length and had a beam of 13 feet. Their rig consisted of a lugs on forejib. Just after the end of the 1914-18 war, the few that were left had motor engines installed, but with the return from war service the steam drifter took their place, and then the more modern keelboat superseded the drifter.